Hey Reddit. I never thought I'd be writing on here about something like this, but I feel like I need to get this off my chest. I don't even know where to begin. My mind is still reeling, and I'm still trying to process what I've found. I'm looking for advice, but mostly just someone to tell me I'm not crazy, that what I'm feeling is valid. I'm 35 years old, and I've been married to my wife, Jessica, for 9 years. We have 2 kids, a 7-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. Jessica and I have always had a strong relationship. We've been through the usual ups and downs, but nothing that ever felt like a deal breaker. I've always trusted her, and up until recently, I thought she was someone I could rely on for anything. For the most part, Jessica is an amazing wife and mother. She's dedicated, smart, and compassionate, and we've always had a relatively balanced relationship. We've built a life together, and I've always been proud of what we've accomplished. But recently, I started to notice some changes in her behavior. Nothing huge, just small things. She started working late more often, getting more distracted with her phone, and was a little less engaged when we were together. It wasn't anything I could point to definitively, but it made me uneasy. And then one day, I walked into the garage and found something I never expected to find. It all started last week. I had decided to finally clean out the garage, something that had been on my to-do list for ages. Jessica had mentioned she needed a few things from the garage, so I figured it would be a good time to organize and tidy up. As I was going through some old boxes, I came across one that was shoved in the back corner. It wasn't one of the usual boxes full of holiday decorations or old clothes. This box seemed different, and it piqued my curiosity. I don't know why I opened it. Maybe I was just trying to get everything organized, or maybe I was looking for something to distract me from the work ahead. Either way, I'm glad I did. Inside the box were a few things: old receipts, some pictures, and then love letters. The letters were written on what looked like fancy stationery, and the handwriting was elegant, almost like something you'd read in a romance novel. I wasn't sure what to make of it, but I started reading, and the words hit me like a punch in the stomach. Each letter was addressed to Jessica, but the name at the bottom was not mine. It was a man named Ryan. My heart sank as I kept reading. These weren't just casual letters. They were love letters. The kind of letters someone writes when they're in love with someone. I won't go into all the details, but I could barely breathe as I read through them. They were full of affection, longing, and promises of secret meetings. The letters mentioned dates, places they'd been, and how much they missed each other. It felt like the ground beneath me was giving way. I stood in the garage, staring at these letters, unable to comprehend what I was reading. My mind raced. Ryan? Who was this? Why was Jessica hiding these from me? What the hell was going on? I kept thinking that maybe there was some kind of misunderstanding, but deep down, I knew the truth. The evidence was right there in front of me, in the form of these letters. There was no denying it. My wife, the woman I had trusted, was having an affair with another man. I don't know how long I stood there in the garage, holding those letters in my hand. Everything felt like it was crashing down around me. I had so many questions. How long had this been going on? Who was Ryan? How could Jessica hide something like this from me for so long? I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I couldn't. I needed to process everything first. I needed time to figure out what to do. I didn't want to make any decisions in the heat of the moment, but at the same time, I felt like I couldn't breathe. My mind was spiraling out of control, and I didn't know who to turn to. I went back inside and sat down. I could hear Jessica moving around in the kitchen, completely unaware of what I had just discovered. The kids were upstairs playing, oblivious to everything. It felt like my whole world was about to explode, and yet the house was so quiet, so normal. I didn't know how to act, how to even begin processing what I was feeling. I spent the next hour just sitting there, holding the letters in my hands, wondering where I went wrong, and how Jessica could betray me like this. I had always trusted her. We had built a life together. We had children together. And now it felt like it was all falling apart. I couldn't keep these letters hidden from her. I had to confront her, but I had no idea how to even begin. What could I say? What would she say in return? I couldn't sit with this knowledge any longer. The letters were eating away at me, and no matter how many times I tried to convince myself it was all some huge mistake, I knew deep down that Jessica had betrayed me. I had to confront her, but I didn't know how. I didn't know if I could even look her in the eye after what I had discovered. I spent the entire evening pacing around the house, thinking about how to approach her. I had gone over a million different scenarios in my head, imagining what she would say, what I would say, and how the whole thing would unfold. Nothing seemed right. No words felt adequate. Finally, as the evening wore on, I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I couldn't wait any longer. I needed answers, and I needed them now. Jessica had put the kids to bed about an hour ago, and I found her sitting on the couch, flipping through a magazine. She looked up when I entered the living room, offering me a small smile. "Hey," she said softly. "Everything okay?" I didn't answer immediately. I was too busy staring at her, wondering how I could have missed the signs, how I could have been so blind. She looked so normal, so calm, like nothing was wrong. And yet, everything was wrong. I couldn't reconcile the woman sitting in front of me with the one who had written those letters to Ryan. I took a deep breath and finally spoke, my voice quieter than I intended. "We need to talk, Jessica." She immediately looked up, sensing the change in my tone. "What's going on? Is something wrong?" Her face softened with concern, but there was no panic in her eyes. Nothing that said she was anticipating the conversation that was coming. "I found something," I said, sitting down across from her. "Something I shouldn't have found." She froze. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Her expression shifted from concern to something else, something I couldn't quite read. "What did you find?" she asked, her voice tight. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I slid the letters out of my pocket and placed them on the coffee table in front of her. "I found these," I said simply, watching her reaction. She looked down at the letters, her face going pale. I could see the color drain from her cheeks, and I knew then that she wasn't going to deny it. She didn't need to. The truth was right there, in black and white. Her hands trembled as she picked up the first letter, reading it quickly. I could see the guilt written all over her face. She put the letter back down and looked up at me, her eyes filled with shame. "Jeremy, she started, but I cut her off. "Who is Ryan?" I asked, my voice hard. "How long has this been going on? Were you seeing him behind my back? How long have you been lying to me?" She closed her eyes briefly, like she was trying to gather her thoughts. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I never meant for any of this to happen. It started as just a friendship, someone I could talk to. But it got out of hand. I was feeling neglected, and Ryan, he was there for me. I didn't want it to happen, but I couldn't stop it once it started. I felt like the world was crashing down around me. All this time, she had been lying to me. All this time, she had been seeing someone else, and I had no idea. I tried to steady my breathing, but my chest felt tight, like I couldn't get enough air. "How long has it been going on?" I asked again, this time through gritted teeth. 6 months, she said quietly, her voice breaking. "It's been going on for 6 months. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that I never meant for it to hurt you. It was a mistake, Jeremy. A huge mistake. I can't believe I let it go this far." I stood up and walked to the window, trying to keep my emotions in check. The anger was bubbling inside of me, but there was something deeper, a sense of betrayal so overwhelming that I didn't know how to deal with it. I turned back to her. "I gave you everything. Our life, our family, and you threw it all away for someone else." She stood up then, reaching for me. "Jeremy, please, don't." I pulled back. I couldn't stand to be touched. "I don't know what to say, Jessica. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way. I don't know if I can forgive you." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand," she whispered. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I just want you to know how sorry I am. I made the worst mistake of my life. I didn't think about the consequences, about what I was risking." I ran a hand through my hair, trying to process everything. The betrayal felt like it was suffocating me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to move forward. The woman I had built a life with was not the person I thought she was. The trust we had, our entire relationship, had been built on lies. And now, it felt like it was all shattered. "I don't know what to do," I said quietly, my voice thick with emotion. "I don't know if we can come back from this. I don't know if I can forgive you." The next few days felt like an emotional fog. Jessica had apologized over and over again, but the damage had been done. I kept thinking about everything, about our life, our family, the years I'd spent trusting her, and the secret she had been hiding from me. I didn't know how to react, what to feel, or how to even process it all. It was as if I was standing outside my life, watching it unravel, but feeling powerless to stop it. After our confrontation, Jessica tried to give me space. I appreciated it, but at the same time, it felt like I was in limbo. The silence between us was deafening. I wanted to yell, to throw things, to make her understand the depth of the betrayal. But I also didn't want to make any rash decisions. I didn't want to say something I'd regret. The pain was still raw, and I needed time to think. Time to figure out what I wanted. I spent my days going through the motions, work, errands, picking up the kids from school. I tried to act normal, but inside, it felt like everything had been turned upside down. I kept replaying our conversations, her words echoing in my mind. It started as just a friendship. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was feeling neglected. But none of that was enough. None of it explained why she'd kept seeing him, why she'd lied to me. I kept questioning everything. What did we really have? Had I been living a lie? Jessica was still here, but I didn't know if she was the same person I had married. I didn't know if I could ever see her the same way again. She kept reaching out, trying to talk, trying to make things right. But I couldn't shake the feeling that no matter how many times she said she was sorry, the trust between us had been permanently shattered. One evening, after the kids had gone to bed, Jessica came to me with a sense of urgency in her eyes. I could tell she had something important to say, something she hadn't told me yet. At this point, I didn't know if I could trust her words, but I listened. I wasn't ready to give her any promises, but I needed to know what was going through her mind. Jeremy, she started, her voice trembling, I've been thinking a lot. About everything. About us. And I know I've messed up, but I also need to be honest with you about something I haven't said. I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? She took a deep breath and walked toward the couch. She sat down beside me, looking me directly in the eyes. Ryan isn't just someone I was seeing because I was feeling neglected. There's more to it. It's not an excuse, but I need you to understand what happened. I leaned forward, my heart pounding. I had a feeling this wasn't just going to be another apology. When we first met, I was lost, she continued, looking away for a second before gathering the courage to keep going. I didn't feel like myself anymore. I wasn't happy in my career. I wasn't happy with the way things were between us. We've been together for so long, and I started feeling like I was just existing, not living. And when I met Ryan, I felt like I was seen. He made me feel special in a way I hadn't felt in years. But I also want you to know that I know it was a terrible decision. I should have come to you. I should have told you what I was feeling. But instead, I let it spiral. And now I've hurt you, and I can't take that back. She paused, and I could feel the weight of her words pressing down on me. I didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to scream at her for being so careless with our marriage, but another part of me could understand the feelings of isolation she had described. We had been so caught up in our routine, in the demands of family and work, that maybe we had both neglected each other in some way. But none of that explained why she'd betrayed me. None of it made the affair okay. Why didn't you tell me this before? I asked quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. Why didn't you come to me when you were feeling this way? I don't know, she replied, her voice breaking. I was scared, Jeremy. Scared that you'd be disappointed in me. Scared that I was failing at everything. Being a wife, a mother, a person. And I thought I could fix it on my own, but I was wrong. I've lost your trust, and I know it's going to take a long time to rebuild. I sat in silence, trying to process what she had said. I didn't want to believe her, but at the same time, something in me wanted to believe that we could move forward. Maybe it wasn't about forgetting what happened, but about rebuilding, piece by piece. But was I ready for that? Could I even start to trust her again? I don't know, Jessica, I said, my voice cracking. I don't know if I can forgive you right now. I don't know if I'll ever be able to see you the same way. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I just need you to know that I'm committed to making things right. I'm committed to us. And if you'll give me the chance, I'll prove that I can be the wife you deserve. It's been a few days since our conversation, and I've been trying to process everything. Jessica has been doing everything she can to show me that she's sorry. She's been more present, more open, and more willing to talk about her feelings. But despite her efforts, I still can't shake the overwhelming sense of betrayal. I've been struggling with how to move forward. On the one hand, I don't want to throw everything away. We've built a life together, a family, and I'm not ready to just walk away from that. But on the other hand, I can't ignore the fact that my wife has been lying to me for months, living a secret life behind my back. The hardest part is the trust. How do I trust her again when she's already broken that trust so completely? How do I look at her and not think about the affair, about the lies, about the secret world she was living in? How do I even begin to rebuild what's been shattered? I've been trying to distract myself, working late, spending time with the kids, anything to avoid thinking about it. But when I'm alone, my mind inevitably drifts back to the love letters I found in the garage, the words that felt like a punch to the gut every time I read them. I keep wondering if I'm fooling myself by trying to forgive her, by trying to believe that we can move past this. A few days ago, I finally decided I needed help. I couldn't keep carrying this around alone. The constant questioning, the second-guessing, it was wearing me down. So I called a friend of mine, Mike, someone I trust, and someone who's known Jessica and me for years. He's a good guy, and I knew he would give me an honest opinion. I explained everything to him, what I'd found, the conversations we'd had, how I was feeling. He listened patiently, never interrupting, just letting me vent. When I finished, he took a long pause before speaking. "Man, I don't know what to tell you," he said. "But here's the thing. You have to make a decision. You can't keep living in this limbo, where you're not sure if you're moving forward or stuck in the past. You need to figure out if you can trust her again, or if you need to walk away." His words hit me hard. I knew he was right, but I wasn't ready to make that decision yet. Part of me still wanted to believe that things could get better, that we could heal from this. But another part of me was scared. Scared that I would never be able to forgive her, that every little thing she did would remind me of what she had done, and I would never fully heal. But Mike's advice stuck with me. I needed to decide. I couldn't keep being stuck in this emotional purgatory. Later that evening, after talking to Mike, I came home to find Jessica sitting on the couch, waiting for me. She looked nervous, and I could see the worry in her eyes. She had asked me if we could talk, and I had agreed, knowing I needed to face this head on. She stood up when I walked in and walked toward me, holding something in her hand. I raised an eyebrow, unsure of what she was about to do. She opened her hand and revealed a small, silver bracelet. "I know it's not much," she said softly, "but I wanted to give you something. Something to show you that I'm serious about making things right. I know I've hurt you, Jeremy, but I want to prove that I can be the person you deserve. I know it's going to take time, and I'm willing to wait, but I want you to have this." I didn't know how to react. A part of me wanted to dismiss it, to tell her it didn't matter. But another part of me appreciated the gesture. It was small, but it was genuine. I could see that she was trying. She was doing what she could to show me that she wanted to rebuild our trust, that she was committed to us. I hesitated for a moment before taking the bracelet from her. "I don't know if I'm ready to forgive you, Jessica," I said, my voice steady but uncertain. "I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to work through this, one step at a time." She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I'll wait as long as you need. I'm not going anywhere, Jeremy. I love you, and I'm sorry for everything." I didn't know what the future held, but in that moment, I realized something important. Maybe it wasn't about getting over the affair immediately. Maybe it was about taking it slow, taking one step at a time, and seeing where that journey would take us. I wasn't ready to forgive her fully, but I wasn't ready to give up on us, either. We're still going to therapy. Jessica continues to work on her own issues, and I've been trying to open up about my feelings. But every day is a struggle. Some days, I feel hopeful, like maybe we can come out of this stronger than before. Other days, I feel like I'm holding on to something that's already slipping through my fingers. But right now, we're taking it one day at a time. And that's all I can ask for. As the weeks passed, Jessica and I kept working through our issues, slowly making progress. The therapy sessions were helpful, but I still felt like I was walking through a fog. Some days, I would feel like we were on the verge of moving past the affair, while on other days, I would catch myself thinking about it again, replaying everything in my head, wondering if I was making the right decision by trying to forgive her. I wasn't sure if I could ever look at her the same way. The hardest part was the emotional toll it was taking on me. Every time I saw Jessica, part of me wanted to love her like I used to. But another part of me kept wondering if it was even possible to trust her again. She had broken something inside of me, and no matter how much she apologized, I couldn't shake the image of her with someone else. Every time I saw her pick up her phone or check her messages, I couldn't help but wonder if there was more that I didn't know. I had been trying to rebuild trust, but it wasn't easy. I started being more open with her, trying to express my feelings and fears instead of bottling them up. And surprisingly, Jessica was receptive. She listened, acknowledged my pain, and never made excuses. She seemed determined to show me that she wanted to change. But every time she mentioned Ryan, even in passing, it felt like a wound was reopened. One night, after another long discussion about the affair, Jessica said something that made me stop and think. "I know I can't fix what I've done, Jeremy, she said quietly. But I want to be someone you can trust again. I'll do anything. I don't want to lose you, but I can't do this on my own. I need your help to show you that I'm worth forgiving. Her words stung, but in a way, it made me realize how much she was trying. She wasn't just waiting for me to forgive her. She was asking for help to earn my trust back. And that was something I hadn't seen in a long time. Still, part of me was unsure. Could I ever get past this? Could I ever look at her without wondering about her past actions? The doubt still lingered, but for the first time in a while, I felt like we were taking steps forward. But I knew there was still a long way to go. A week ago, something happened that set us back. We were having dinner with friends at our house, people who had known Jessica and me for years. It was supposed to be a fun, relaxing evening, a chance for us to reconnect with others and forget about the heaviness of everything we'd been going through. But after dinner, while everyone was chatting in the living room, I found myself alone in the kitchen with my thoughts. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Jessica's phone sitting on the counter. It was unlocked, something I hadn't seen her do in a long time. I'd been trying not to snoop. I didn't want to invade her privacy, but the curiosity gnawed at me. I felt like a fool for even considering it, but I picked up the phone. I convinced myself that I was just checking on something innocent, maybe a message or a reminder. But what I found stopped me dead in my tracks. There was a message from Ryan. I didn't need to read the entire conversation. The last few lines were enough. I miss you. I don't want to lose what we had. And there were several more messages, nothing explicit, but the words were there. Words that told me they were still in contact, still talking. My heart sank. I immediately put the phone down and walked out of the kitchen, my hands shaking. I couldn't believe it. We had talked about this. We had agreed that she would cut all contact with him, that she would do everything she could to show me she was committed to rebuilding our trust. And yet, here was the proof that she hadn't fully let go of him. I don't know how long I stood there in the hallway, processing everything. But Jessica must have sensed something was off because she came over and asked if I was okay. I couldn't bring myself to speak at first. I didn't want to yell. I didn't want to make a scene in front of our friends. But the pain was so overwhelming, I couldn't hold it in anymore. Why didn't you tell me? I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I thought you said you were done with him, Jessica. Why are you still talking to him? Her face turned pale, and she immediately started apologizing, explaining that she had been weak and that she hadn't meant to hurt me again. She told me she had been trying to move on, but hadn't fully broken off the emotional connection with Ryan. She said she had been trying to do the right thing, but it had been hard to completely sever ties. I didn't want to hurt you, Jeremy, she pleaded, tears in her eyes. I thought I could do it on my own, but I was wrong. I know I messed up. Please, don't leave me. I want to fix this, I promise. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. I was crushed, devastated, and confused. I had trusted her, and now it felt like everything was slipping through my fingers. The rest of the evening was a blur. I couldn't focus on anything, couldn't even enjoy the time with our friends. My mind kept going back to the message, to the fact that Jessica had lied to me again. How could I ever trust her if this was the kind of behavior she was still engaging in? After everyone left, I confronted her again, feeling utterly lost. Jessica, I can't keep doing this, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I thought we were past this. I thought we were moving forward, and now I find out you're still in contact with him? How am I supposed to trust you when you keep lying to me? She cried again, saying she was sorry and promising that she was committed to cutting him out for good. But I didn't know if I could believe her anymore. The truth was, I felt like I had been betrayed again, and I didn't know if I could move forward from this. After the confrontation, things between Jessica and me became even more strained. I didn't know how to move forward. I felt like I was stuck in this endless loop of pain, confusion, and doubt. Every time I looked at her, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. It didn't matter how many times she apologized or promised that she would change, something inside me had snapped. I couldn't trust her anymore, and I didn't know if I ever would again. The emotional toll was exhausting. I tried to go through the motions, work, spending time with the kids, being present in our day-to-day life, but inside, I felt completely disconnected from Jessica. We had always shared everything, and now it felt like we were living in parallel universes. She was trying to show me she was sorry, but I didn't know how to respond. I didn't know if I could believe her anymore. The day after our argument, I took some time to clear my head. I drove around aimlessly, just trying to think. I didn't want to make any rash decisions, but at the same time, I knew I couldn't keep living in limbo. I had to figure out if this marriage was something I could save, or if I was just fooling myself by trying to hold on to something that was already broken. I thought about our life together, the years we had spent building a family, and the love we had once shared. It wasn't all bad. There were still good memories, good moments. But the hurt from the betrayal was overwhelming. I couldn't keep pretending like everything was okay when every part of me was screaming that it wasn't. When I finally returned home, Jessica was sitting on the couch, waiting for me. She didn't look surprised to see me. She knew I needed time to think, and I could tell she had been giving me space. But I also knew that we couldn't keep avoiding the hard conversations. "I've been thinking," I said, my voice steady. "I don't know if I can keep doing this, Jessica. Every time I try to move forward, I feel like I'm just reminded of everything you've done. I want to believe you, but I don't know if I can anymore." She immediately reached for my hand, her face full of pain and regret. "I understand, Jeremy. I know I've hurt you more than I can ever explain, but I'm still willing to fight for us. I love you. I love our family, and I want to make this right." I pulled my hand away, shaking my head. "It's not enough, Jessica. It's never going to be enough. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep trying to move forward when I don't know if I can ever trust you again." The words felt like they were tearing me apart. I didn't want to leave her. I didn't want to give up on our family. But I also didn't know how to move past the hurt. I didn't know how to look at her without seeing Ryan's name, without remembering the lies, without feeling the weight of the betrayal. "I think we need time apart," I said, my voice breaking. "I need space to think. I need to figure out if this is something I can ever forgive you for. And I need to know if you're willing to do whatever it takes to prove you're committed to fixing this." She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "I don't want to lose you, Jeremy. Please don't give up on us." "I'm not giving up on us," I said, but I wasn't sure if that was true anymore. "I just don't know what the future holds. But I need space to figure that out." The days after our decision to take some time apart were incredibly difficult. The silence in the house was deafening. I stayed in the guest room for a while, trying to give Jessica the space she needed, but also trying to give myself the time to process everything. It felt like I was living in a nightmare. I wanted to believe we could rebuild, that our marriage wasn't over, but the trust had been broken in ways that seemed impossible to repair. I spent hours thinking, writing down my thoughts, trying to figure out what I wanted. I had always believed that love and commitment could conquer anything, but this felt different. It felt like the foundation of our marriage had been cracked beyond repair. During this time, Jessica did everything she could to show me that she was committed to making things right. She gave me space, but she also started doing things that showed she was serious about rebuilding my trust. She told me she had ended all contact with Ryan and had gone to great lengths to cut him out of her life completely. She started coming to therapy on her own, working on the issues that led her to cheat in the first place. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't expect it. She just wanted me to know that she was taking responsibility for her actions and that she would do whatever it took to show me she was worthy of my trust again. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, I sat down with her. "I don't know if I can ever fully forgive you," I said, my voice shaking. "But I can see that you're trying. I can see that you want to fix this. And I'm willing to try too." Her eyes filled with tears as she reached for my hand. "I'll wait for as long as you need, Jeremy. I love you, and I'll spend every day proving that I'm here, that I'm committed to you, and that I'll never make the same mistake again." I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know if we would ever fully heal from this. But in that moment, I felt like maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for us. It wasn't going to be easy, and there would be days when I doubted everything. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like we were on the path toward healing. It's been a few months since we decided to take some time apart. Jessica and I have spent that time in therapy, together and separately, and it hasn't been easy. In fact, some days feel like we're going backward instead of forward. There are still moments where I catch myself wondering if I can ever fully trust her again, and there are days when I feel like I'm holding on to a relationship that might never be the same. But then there are other days, small moments, when I catch a glimpse of the person I married. The person who made me laugh, who was my partner in everything. Those moments remind me that, despite the hurt, I still love her. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I'm starting to believe that healing is possible. Slowly, but surely, we are rebuilding, not just our relationship, but our connection as individuals. Jessica has been committed to showing me she's working on herself. She's been open, honest, and consistent. She continues therapy on her own and has been trying to focus on the things that led her to make the choices she did. She's learning to communicate better, to express her emotions, and to be vulnerable. I can see that she's doing the work, But I also know that I need to do the work, too. It's not just about rebuilding trust, it's about rebuilding us. Last week, we had a breakthrough. We were sitting in the backyard, the kids playing in the distance, and we finally had the conversation we needed to have. The one about the future. Jeremy, Jessica said, her voice soft but clear. I know I've messed up, and I know that it's going to take time for you to heal. I've been doing the work, and I'll continue to. But I need to know what you want. I need to know if you still see a future for us. I took a deep breath and looked at her, really looked at her. In the past, I would have immediately reassured her. I would have told her everything would be fine, that we'd make it through. But this time, I didn't have the answers. I needed to be honest with myself and with her. I don't have all the answers either, I said slowly. I don't know if I can ever fully trust you again, Jessica, but I know I'm willing to try. I'm willing to work on this because I believe we still have something worth saving. But I need time. I need you to understand that this won't be easy for me, but I'm not ready to give up on us yet. Her eyes filled with tears, and she reached out for my hand. Thank you. I'll do whatever it takes. I don't deserve your trust, but I'll earn it every day. In that moment, I realized that we were no longer trapped in the pain of the past. We were taking steps forward. It wasn't about forgetting what happened. It was about learning how to move forward from it. There would be bumps along the way, moments of doubt, but the fact that we were both willing to work on it, to fight for it, gave me hope. We still have a long way to go. There are days when the pain resurfaces, when I find myself questioning everything again. There are still days when I wonder if we'll ever fully heal. But there are also moments when I see the effort we're both putting in, and I feel a glimmer of hope that we can rebuild. We're not perfect, and our relationship won't ever be the same as it was before. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is that we're both trying to be better, not just for each other, but for ourselves. We've learned to communicate more openly, to be more vulnerable with each other, and to not take each other for granted. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like there's a possibility for us to start over, to create a new chapter. We're both committed to doing the work, and while it's not easy, it's worth it. One step at a time, we're moving forward. Together.